Good evening. It is Thursday, June the 2nd, about 9:40 p.m. This is Shay Gibson with Wind Alert and Weather Flow, bringing you a tropics update as we head into our second day of the hurricane season 2016. We've already started out with a little bit of an active season so far. So the first area that we want to talk about, two areas of interest here. We got one is Bonnie that is still having some effects on eastern United States, and then we also have another system that is expected to be coming together around the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico by late weekend and early next week. So let's take a look at Bonnie first. It was upgraded from a post-tropical cyclone status to a tropical depression status today as the winds climbed up to about 30 to 35 miles an hour. So current winds 35 miles an hour sustained. Central pressure 1008 millibars. It only dropped 1 millibar from this morning, so no significant strengthening, although it did look impressive this afternoon on radar. It definitely looked probably the most organized that many have seen the system since it began. The general movement is to the northeast at 6 miles an hour. So if you take a look over the area today, we see the gradient has relaxed quite a bit along the outer banks. These numbers were a lot higher earlier. They're about 20 to 26 knots, gusting to 30 and even higher in most spots. So we take, we'll pick one spot here, Avon Sound, and we see around 1:30, I would say about 1:30, or according to the archives, about 1:33 p.m. we had wind gust of 36 knots was the top one at Avon. We did see some other areas achieve right around 40 to 42 miles an hour in gusts today. The averages, however, did not stick to that number at 39. 39 is the threshold for tropical storm status, but it did not meet that today to acquire that name. As the core is over the Gulf Stream, it could acquire tropical storm status. It's only 4 miles an hour below that threshold, but it would be, albeit too brief. And if we look at the track for this system, we find that it's going to eventually just head out to the east into the Atlantic and get sheared apart and ultimately die off out there. So here's the general track for the system, as it will no longer be a threat to land except for a few lingering remaining showers overnight for the extreme outer banks. This system will continue to move out to the east and eventually go away. This model does have it acquiring tropical storm status in the next 24 hours. So it could happen. It could hold tropical storm status for the next 24 to 36 hours as well. So don't be surprised if that does happen again, but it won't be having any impact to land anymore along the United States. So let's take a look at the next area of interest that we have. This is the 5-day tropical outlook. National Hurricane Center is giving this area of disturbance to come together somewhere around the northern Yucatan Peninsula. 40% chance of development in the next 5 days, 0% in the next 48 hours. That means nothing in the immediate next 2 days is going to happen. We're watching a tropical wave pulse across the western Caribbean and ultimately towards this area. It's a large batch of moisture. There's going to be some rotation going on eventually with the system, and then it should lift up to the north. There's a cold front that's going to be coming across the United States by, I would say, Sunday and even into Monday, and the northern part of it should trail up to this direction, and the tail end of it kind of drape across, and we believe that it's going to pick this system up and just pull it right on out into the Atlantic with it. So we don't think it's going to be sticking around for very long, but if we go ahead and take a look at the GFS for modeling on this system, we get an idea of Sunday morning. Here's the low that's coming together. A lot of this is driven. Let me back up just a second here. A lot of this is driven. This map is a little bit difficult to see, but here's Florida right here. If you look, and this is a Bermuda high pressure that's sitting a little further south for this time of the year. Usually these are up in this direction, off to the northeast a little bit more, but it has increased the gradient along the intertropical convergence zone here across the northern equatorial region, and has been pushing a large batch of moisture and a tropical wave across in this direction. So that's what's creating this system to begin with. The tropical wave is right about here, and it's been pulsing this moisture through. The winds there about 18 to 23 knots versus the typical 15 to 20 knot usually trades you have. They've really been kind of pumping through, so that's what's kind of getting the tropical wave energy up into this area. So now let's go back to the GFS and take a look. Here's Sunday morning, and as we go in time, here's Sunday afternoon, and then as we get into Monday morning, the low starts to come together and then lift up to the north and to the north-northeast. Whether or not it acquires a tropical cyclone or a storm name status has yet to be determined. We don't know for sure if that's going to happen. There's a couple of factors that may limit its strengthening potential or even not allow it to become tropical storm in nature, maybe just a depression or just a large low in general. But here it goes across the Tampa Bay area by Tuesday morning, and by Tuesday afternoon and into Wednesday or Tuesday night, this low emerges out into the Atlantic, where these models are starting to develop this system out over the Gulf Stream and sort of bomb it out, as we would say. So it's not necessarily going to be any kind of hurricane. We don't want to say the H word yet on this thing. We just want to say that it could acquire tropical cyclone status, and it looks like maybe a weak to moderate tropical storm with the way that the models are showing this. And this is very far out too. This is 7 days out, so nothing is for certain with any of this right now. I mean, this track could change. This low may not develop as strong as this model is saying. If we take a look at the Euro model, here is Sunday morning as well, and if we go into time, we start to see the same pattern. So when we get the GFS and the Euro in agreement with a system coming together, that usually is a pretty strong case for something that's going to be happening. So as we get into Monday morning, here comes the low up through the Gulf heading towards the Florida coast. The Euro actually is a little bit more aggressive with the system, pulling it across Florida and then actually gaining a little bit more strength as it reaches into the Atlantic Ocean over the Gulf Stream. So the GFS was showing this at 998 millibars. Now the Euro is showing 994 millibars for it. So it's just one of these things we really need to watch for development. But one thing's for sure with the system is that once it goes off to the northeast and crosses into the Atlantic, if the cold front is there, it will pull it off to the northeast rather quickly. So the actual impacts for the South Carolina area will be very minimal. We probably see some rains, maybe some winds and swell, but I don't think we're going to see a tropical storm pull over us and do any kind of damage to the coastline whatsoever. I think we're just looking at some rains, maybe some rip currents, and some swell for those who like to surf and catch some waves. Might be able to get a little something there. So here's one of the limiting factors for the system. This is the upper jet stream, 300 millibars. This starting Saturday, we see a dip in the Gulf Stream. Dip in the jet stream, come down through Oklahoma and Arkansas, and then lift up. What we also have here is we have an upper trough that's feeding down from this jet stream and actually up across the Gulf. So we see the winds are going to be picking up higher up aloft at 300 millibars, and that is going to be shearing off the tops of clouds for any low pressures that develop. So this is for Saturday. Let's take a look a little bit further ahead as we get into Sunday and then even into Monday. We still see that there is this upper trough developing across. It's going to be stronger in this area, a little bit weaker on this side. So this may allow for development. The real maker or breaker for the system becoming a tropical cyclone or a tropical storm in nature before it makes landfall in Florida is whether or not these upper winds are going to be a little bit more relaxed. So the stronger these winds are, the more shearing is going to be going on, the faster this low is going to head up and out. So this dip in the jet stream also on Monday is going to help bring this system off. There's going to be a cold front in association with this right about here. So we get this lifting mechanism aloft, we get upper shear and the system coming together, and all of it really just wants to race off to the northeast. So let's take another look a little further ahead as we get into Monday. We see the jet stream racing up in that direction. So pretty much all the energy for this system is going to be to the north, really driving the system out into the Atlantic. Whether or not it deepens in pressure out here is I mean, usually what happens is it crosses over land and it loses some of its steam and then reemerges here. We could see some deepening, but I don't think it would be rapid intensification since all the momentum is heading this direction. There's going to be forward momentum with this system at a fast rate. So if we even look at the earth.nolaschool.net forecast for this system this is going to be on Monday the 6th. Let me make sure, check the calendar. Yes, Monday the 6th. You can see the upper trough pulling up and across this area. The stronger jetting is going to be in the western Gulf of Mexico, and the weaker jetting is going to be over this way. This is about where the storm will be on Tuesday, maybe even here. So, if there's a little bit of relaxing in the upper atmosphere in this direction, this is a potential area where it could strengthen a little bit before making a landfall through this area. And you can see the direction these upper winds are going to be sort of carrying it up and out in time. There's also going to be a surface feature going against it in a different direction. So you're going to have upper shear, and then you're also going to have high pressure out here bringing a clockwise rotation up in this direction for its surface. It's basically going to get sheared apart out here, I believe, in time, but not before getting a little bit of strengthening out off the southeast coast. So let's take a look at the surface winds for the same day. And you can see that high pressure out here. And this is just for Monday and Tuesday. This high pressure remains in place. So the system looks like it's going to go up and around and get pretty much go the same path that Bonnie is going right now, up and around the Bermuda high pressure. Here's where the low is predicted to be on Monday from this particular model, which is the earth.nilschool.net. So let's take a quick look at the rainfall, because there's a lot of indication that this is going to be a huge rainmaker with all of the activity and all the rain activity coming up from the south. The WPC, NOAA WPC, has this area circled for 5.6 inches right now. This could grow. This could be locally heavier in different spots as well. But one thing we know about this system for now, at least, is that no matter what, the entire western side of Florida and the Gulf side of Florida is going to be seeing a significant amount of rain. Whether or not this becomes a tropical storm or not, it's going to see a lot of precipitation coming out. We could see a little bit from this system. This is a 5-day outlook. We could see a little bit of this from this system along our coast, just along the immediate coastline. I don't think we're going to see anything major from it, even if it does become a tropical storm out here off of our coastline. It's going to be on the move, and we're only going to be seeing wraparound flow, maybe in northeast. Could see an increased northeast gradient by maybe Monday afternoon or Tuesday, and possibly even into Wednesday. I think by Wednesday, if it's out here, we may have a very slight northerly gradient, but nothing to be worried about. Like I said, the higher risk is going to be for rip currents and rains for Florida. For South Carolina, rip currents and waves. I don't think we're going to see much more than that. Maybe some moderate winds for Tuesday at least. And I think that's going to do it for the tropical update this time. If anything significant changes between now and the next couple of days, I'll come back on and make another tropical update, and I might do one tomorrow night just to get an idea of what we're looking at for early next week. So until then, thanks for watching and take care.